so I call him, he's escaping or copping out on us. So,
Fleeing.
and of course, our fine staff. So with that, we will continue. Approval of the minutes of October 28th, 2015.
Move to approve.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Okay, that passes. Adoption of the agenda. Anybody have any additions or omissions that they want to for the agenda, or are we okay going with that?
Move to approve as presented.
Okay. Do I have a second?
Second.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right, agenda's approved as is. Pretty short, but some pretty meaningful stuff in here, so hopefully we'll just move right along. Okay, number one, discussion and action on the following request by Alderman Weary regarding Colburn Pool. I would suggest that we cover each individual item, A, B, C, and D. And I want to hear from staff first, and then we possibly will open up the floor to hear from the people who come to speak on each item. And again, we will take it as per specific item and address each item as we go. So, ground rules are laid down. Number one, discussion action on the following request by Alderman Weary. A, to officially recognize the $1 million fundraising goal that has been met. And I'm going to grab that one right off the bat and say, excellent going. You guys did a heck of a job of getting your money together and showed up. So, staff, what do you have to say?
Okay. Again, congratulations as well. You did a really nice job of raising the money, so good job. Alderman Weary has provided this committee a copy of the donors list from the Greater Green Bay Community Foundation and its verification of the fundraising dollars that they have raised. Staff called John Kubak he's the Chief Financial Officer for the foundation, and he verified the pledge number amount. He also indicated that some cash has been collected, and they would be collecting the remaining once the council has approved the pool. The names don't get on this list unless they're a verified pledge. So that, he also shared that with me as well.
Are you the sole reviewer of that list and hold that as a record, basically?
It's a private list, so what I did was I asked the foundation to verify the amount, and they have.
Okay. And you have a listing that's available for you from the
You have this
public?
listing right here, Alderman.
All right, thank you very much. All right. Alderman Weary, do you want to speak to that subject? You want to brag a little bit or something?
Sure. Well, it's been 4 years, and I appreciate everybody's help and patience. And we have several people here. If you just want to stand up, if you're part of the Friends group, Corey and Leah and Molly and Ryan and Janet and Gail and Mary. We have many others that did a lot of work in this last year. Fundraising's not easy, and I'm really proud of them to get to the $1 million. So, thank you, appreciate it.
Amen. Been there several times myself, and one of the ones that wasn't really too successful was the Zip and Pippin, but we're going to bear with it anyway. So, all right, number B, letter B.
No.
Actually, you have to.
Okay, discussion.
Could I just ask a quick question? The list that we have has a total of $913,247.08. Is it?
Alderman Weary, do you want to answer
Oh,
that?
sure, yeah, I have a check from the whole Chunk tribe, which I'll give to Donnie after the meeting for $100,000.
Okay.
They wanted to make theirs out right away to the city. They didn't want to give the foundation,
Okay.
they wanted to move it right away.
Just wanted to make a note of that. Okay.
Okay. Any further discussion? Yes, Brian.
Chair, I do believe we need to make at least some sort of action on this, correct? If we are taking these individually, so.
Okay.
Staff, would it just simply be a motion to approve or a motion
To
forward?
officially recognize that the $1 million fundraising goal has been achieved.
All right. I'll make the motion.
Second.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right. Again, good job. B, to proceed with council-approved pool design that the Friends of Colburn Group has in good faith fundraised towards the pool, basically.
Okay.
Thanks.
And staff, do you have comments, please?
On April 10th, 2014, this committee directed staff to seek RFPs for a pool consultant to develop the concept for the pool. On July 9th, 2014, the park committee approved to hire Rainmakers and Associates to provide that conceptual design. They estimated a cost of $4.5 million, and that was to construct an Olympic-sized pool with amenities. The concept was already approved by the Park Committee on October 1st, 2014, and by the City Council on October 7th, 2014. When you hire the consultant, you may want to encourage or welcome suggestions or minor changes to that concept to lower staffing costs and/or other costs. And that is it for me on that one, Mr. Chairman.
Okay. Any further discussion? Otherwise, I would look for a motion to open the floor.
Well, I'll have comments, but I'll make a motion to open the floor first.
Okay. Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor? The floor is now open. Would you please come forth if you have something to speak to this particular item? Again, this has relation to the approved pool design and specifically that item. So please come to the podium, give us your name and address, and we'll be glad to hear from you if you have any suggestions or anything that you want to discuss here. Yes, Alderman.
Not afraid of talking. I think we all know it's been, a number of years that we've been working on this. My predecessor, Alderman Burnett, is in full support of moving ahead with the same plan. He expressed that to me. And we held, obviously, many neighborhood meetings over at Colburn Park and here. Colburn Park Neighborhood Association's here, the president, vice president, to show support, and they can speak for themselves as well. We had those neighborhood meetings, we had meetings here, and I added my newsletters. We went over a couple different designs, and then we actually approved that plan unanimously. So I think we're just hoping now just to take that next step.
Okay.
Chair, I have a couple questions.
Yes, Brian, do you have a question for me?
Mr. Riff, I just have a couple questions just to clarify a couple things. I believe there was some talk about maybe some minor changes that the group had for the pool, or is that still, is this still the plan you guys want to commit to?
It's the plan that was approved by the council. I think the minor changes would be if a different architect were hired or
Okay.
designer, and he sees something that can be tweaked to make it less expensive.
Gotcha. I just wanted to get clarification of that. And the second thing too is I know as part of that approval, we had talked about some allowance of phasing to some of this as well, where we'd go ahead with this proposal and this design, but everybody being open to the fact that we may, like for example, I think like the rental shelter or some of the landscaping, we may have to phase that in, like in the following year or something like that. Is that still an acceptable part of a proposal like that, to not only minimize the cost, but just kind of ensure the fact that we can, move a project forward?
I think everything's on the table as far as phasing. Yeah, that's fine.
Okay, because I know that was something we had talked about, and I just want to make sure that's
If it
still
helps move
something.
the main pool along, definitely.
Okay, thanks. That's all I have, Chair.
Okay. Any further comments from committee?
I think one thing we will have to consider in moving forward, and, obviously we have to move forward at this point, is that some of the contributions are, in further years, so.
Yeah, installments.
Yeah, in installments, so we have to figure out how we're going to work that into the financing plan.
If I may, I believe Ms. Kramer has cut that out, or I'm sorry, distributed that with each column, so you'll see in
Right.
2015 the amount that's collected.
Yeah.
Just as a point of reference on that. But if I may, not to jump in here, Chair, but I
Yes.
believe when we're looking at this purely from a fund perspective, this is again just simply pledged dollars, so it's not necessarily collected dollars, but this is by the annual rate, so.
Okay, any further discussion? I believe that all this money, there's not any money in hand or anything, right? That's basically what it amounts to.
There were some dollars that were collected as well, like
Okay.
Alderman Wary shared with you that he has a $100,000 check from the Ho-Chunk Nation.
Okay,
And the foundation said there were small dollars that were collected as
Mhm.
people came in and just gave those pledges. But the major donations will not be collected until council approval.
oh, okay.
If I could, there's about 30-some thousand that they do have outside of Ho-Chunk, so we're looking at 130,000 already in hand.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you. Anybody here that would like to speak? If so, we'd open up the floor.
We have the floor open.
Let's open the floor first and then.
I'll make a motion to return to regular order.
Yeah, we have the floor open right now.
Oh, okay. Anybody want to speak on this besides? Any ideas, thoughts, or whatever?
Wow,
Okay. All right, thank you.
I guess we're done, yeah.
This is going too easy so far.
Well, regarding the design, I know that there was some talk of some changes possibly with St. Norbert doing an indoor Olympic-sized pool now, and with Tundra Lodge's plans to move forward regardless of what happens here. But I think that the Friends group kind of got together and had those discussions and determined this is what they wanted to stick with, so. I don't have a problem moving forward with what the plan is here. I've got some questions about the funding we can bring up later, but
Okay.
as far as design and plan, so let's do it. I'll make that motion to approve.
All right, do I have a second?
Second.
Staff, did you have something to say about it?
No.
Okay. Everybody in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, that passes. C, proceed with the bidding out the architect engineer utilizing fundraising dollars for this phase so that no bonding would be necessary. Staff?
Okay, the estimate cost of this pool, as we told you, was $4.5 million. That was a very preliminary estimate that we dealt with Rainmaker on. That estimate will be 2 years old by the time we go to build the pool. Since this time, the city of Green Bay, we have witnessed a 20% increase in most of our construction projects. So the cost for all our bids, we are noticing a 20% increase, meaning we don't know if the pool will still be built for $4.5 million. We discussed our concerns with Raymaker, who is the engineer that came forth with that number. They said they are experiencing similar situations when they're building pools throughout the state. They would charge an additional $1,400 to us if we wanted to get a more definite number from them. If we would just add 20% to the cost of the pool, we come up with about $5.4 million. If the city were to hire a consultant to complete the engineering documents, we would require then, of course, that consultant would provide us with an updated engineer estimate, so the city would know the exact amount they would need to bond for in the spring of 2016. Alderman Weary is proposing to send an RFP out immediately and hire the consultant in January of 2016. The Friends of Coburn Pool will pay to hire a consultant to complete plans and specifications needed to bid out the project using fundraising dollars. Again, we don't know the exact cost of the pool. Generally, what that cost for consulting is usually 10 to 12% of the project. So we would probably be looking about, if the pool is now $5.4 million, the cost would be anywhere from $540,000 to $648,000, which would include bid documents, plan specification, construction documents, and the cost of the construction supervision when the pool is built. Typically, the process is, as you know, we bond for the engineering and the construction at the same time. This time, we need to secure the funding for the pool, which we don't have the funding for the pool yet. We were talking about bringing it and bonding it in 2016. We would be proceeding with the pool design prior to securing money to pay for the pool. Final approval of that pool would not occur until the bonding for the construction of the pool has been approved when we go through the bonding cycle, whether it be March or April of 2016. And final approval would happen during the bonding process. If bonding is not approved at that time, the fundraising dollars spent could be lost. Before the city would hire a consultant, the fundraising would need to be deposited in the city account to pay for the consultant. That's all I have, Mr. Chairman.
Oh, I thought this was going too smooth. In other words, looks like we don't have any money. But the council has already voted to proceed with the approved pool design. And I guess the increase for the percentage is due to the fact that it's taken longer to actually get the pledges and get the money and everything organized? Is that
Well, when we started in 2014, we just needed an estimate for the Friends of Coburn Pool.
Mhm.
They needed a price to say, hey, how much will a pool cost? In 2014, that was the price that Rainmaker quoted us
Okay.
to build a pool.
Well, discussion. Yes. Go.
All right, so this is what my concern was with the cost, because what the council approved was 3.5 million, if 1 million was raised. The council didn't approve any more than that, which leaves a gap of anywhere, I've gotten the quotes, I mean, I guess from staff and wherever else, but from anywhere from 4.9 to 5.5 million, which would leave a gap of $400,000 to $1 million that we really don't know what has to be spent. So if the council doesn't approve an additional $1 million in bonding, and we make the hire now, we approve it, then this is money that can't be returned if the bonding isn't approved. Or even if the mayor's office vetoed the bonding, or, denied the bonding, with whatever executive power he has to do that. So I think that hiring right now would not probably be the wisest decision. I would wait till after the bonding was to be approved, or we had, again, like you had said, money on hand, to make it happen. I hate to spend the fundraise dollars right now, and look, Alderman Weary has been going for 2 years on this without knowing what's gonna happen, which I can't even imagine, and I certainly don't envy being in that position. But that's where we're at. We're at the point now where it's time for the bonding, and if something falls through, then 2 years of work is basically flushed down the
4.
pool drain.
4 years.
Excuse me. The floor is
Yeah, I was
now
referring
open.
to Alderman Weary's last 2 years of work here. So that's, I guess, where we're at. I don't think that I would support right now, using the fundraising dollars when they wouldn't be able to be returned if something were to fall through before the bonding's actually done. That's all I have.
Any other discussion? Yes,
Well,
David.
I guess just my thoughts on this, I think a lot of times when we have projects, we'll have an estimate of what the cost of the project will be, but we really don't know for sure until after we do the engineering work and bid it out. And, we don't even know it for sure what the engineering costs will be at this point. But, you only get facts and get certainty by making a decision to go forward and working on it. You're certainly right, Alderman Moore, that when the city acted on it, the motion was to set a $1 million fundraising goal, which we certainly recognize has been achieved, and that the city fund the remaining $3.5 million necessary for the project. Now, you never know. That may end up being adequate, or if it isn't adequate, we may have to do like we've done in some other projects and revisit the project itself and to see, how the costs can be, the actual costs can be brought within the budget. And I think, that's a discussion for another day. But, we really won't know unless we proceed with the engineering work. And I don't know, to me, if we wait until, it's going to take time just to get the quotes on the engineering work, let alone complete the engineering work. I don't know what kind of timeline will be necessary, but to me, if we wait until March, probably at the earliest, when the bonding would be approved in total, that could easily delay this another year from what the schedule had been. I know that how to fund the engineering costs is a subject that should be discussed with finance. I did have a very brief discussion today with our finance director, and she recommended that we receive bids for the engineering and proceed with that, and then have a further discussion about how we're going to fund the engineering costs. I myself would be open to splitting the engineering costs, not necessarily charging all of them to the fund, funds that the Friends of Colburn Pool raised. I myself would be open to having the city fund part of the engineering costs, maybe on a proportionate basis, something like that. But, then the city finance people have to determine if that is the case, where those funds would come from. I understand there's some risk involved there, but, you really do that in any case when you decide to proceed with a project. And one way or the other, whether it would require reducing, revisiting the project, maybe reducing the scope a little, we really don't know that yet, but one way or the other, I think we have a commitment from both sides, the city and the Friends, to build a pool. You know, it may not end up being exactly what is on the plan right now, but, you know, I do, you know, and from our perspective as city council members, I don't think we can just say it's going to be a blank check, whatever it comes in at, the city will make up the difference, because we don't know.
Mhm.
So I'd like to act based on what we know, and, you know, that's basically, I think the only thing we know right now is that the Friends have met their goal. We know that the city, you know, committed to $3.5 million, and I would not have a problem in reaffirming that, and, you know, do the engineering work and see what we got.
Brian?
Thank you, Chair. Just a couple things. One is, much like what Alderman Nenning has mentioned, to me, this is really just more a matter of, do we want to start the RFP process of getting some of the engineering quotes that are out there? I am concerned if we delay this further. I mean, we've seen how costs have increased over the last year and a half with the 20% added to the overall project piece. I don't think we, as a city, are putting ourselves at any additional risk either by just simply getting RFPs and quotes as to what the engineering would be. Now, we already have an estimate from staff of that possibly being right around the $550,000 to $650,000 range, meaning that even if we look at the pledges that have been collected for 2015 and part of 2016, that may or may not even cover what would be necessary to pay for those engineering costs. So much to, as Mr. Netting has mentioned, the city may have to cover a piece of that anyway. The way I look at this too is, you know, the donors or the people that are investing in this, I don't want to say they understand the risk. I think that's maybe unfair to make that presumption, but their investment in this, though, was for the construction of a pool, and I think they all know that this is part of that process. I understand where Alderman Moore is coming from, that if this, for whatever reason, were not to go through, we are, in a sense, putting those dollars at risk from the donors. And I'm sure this has been communicated to them, I would think, by Alderman Weary, at least in some degree, and by the Friends of Colburn Park Pool. But again, I mean, this is a necessary step, as Mr. Netting has mentioned, to get a clear picture of what the cost might be. And also, too, again, I don't want to start playing with numbers here, but, you know, we've heard some fluctuation as to what that gap might be. Now, I agree, a $400,000 gap versus $1 million gap, I mean, that's pretty sizable. I mean, that differentiation has quite the magnitude to it. But all I see is if by waiting until March, and then the RFP process, and then the engineering phase being done, I would anticipate, based on what we've seen in previous projects, looking at July, maybe August, for those final numbers to come in. Meaning we're really then looking at 2017, both from a funding perspective and a budget perspective, as well as the start of the construction phase. You know, we've talked about where some of this funding is going to go, and I appreciate what staff has mentioned in regards to the overall investment required for the pool from the city side. I'm not even going to get into the operational costs. I know that's a discussion for something completely down the road, which I won't be here for. I know, I'm lucky on that one. But what I think is interesting, though, is we still have to understand, too, that the pool will be closed for a couple of, well, at least one season, if not a season and a half. Yeah, one season, I would think. No, Mr. Weary's wrong. No, yes, so.
No. If we would do the RFP right away, we'd put together just a quick proposed Colburn Pool schedule. That if we sent out an RFP right away to hire a consultant, we'd have it due in January. We would try to bring it to the Park Committee in January 13th, City Council approval on the 19th, consultant to begin on construction plans in February. April 1st, consultant to provide detailed engineering estimate. And April and May, city to bond for the pool construction. June 1, plan specification and bid documents hopefully could be completed. We'd advertise for construction in June. We would hope to have the bid opening by the end of June, early July. INS committee on July 13th, City Council on July 19th. And Colburn Pool would close next season on 21st of August. So if we could put it all together, we may be able to start construction after the pool closes next year.
Oh, okay.
That's a fast track.
I was about to
schedule.
say, that seems
That's
very
a fast
aggressive
track
compared to
schedule.
what we talked about, because,
Yeah.
yeah, and I apologize, I didn't mean
Yeah.
to, I didn't know
No.
you had that schedule. I was kind of operating under a previous iteration of that schedule that was a little more drawn out, where I anticipated we would have at least a partial closing of a season. I actually thought we would lose a season, and then we would be able to recoup some of those operational costs. I thought that we could apply them to the construction of the pool, but if this makes people more comfortable, and then to at least move this forward, I don't see any harm in us approving the proceeding of bidding out the architecture, I'm sorry, at least the RFP process, to see what this is going to cost us, to actually get the architect and engineering work done. I mean, in any scenario we look at, that process is gonna have to be done anyway, correct?
Correct.
So I don't think moving that forward hurts us in any way, nor does it put us in any sort of financial risk or constraint. All it really does is it means we've now found out what the price tag would be for that type of work. Okay, that's all I have, Chair, thank you.
Okay, I'm not only sitting in the middle, but I'm caught in the middle. Sounds to me like there won't be any really good use of opening the pool until the year that you stated. So regardless of when they can start construction or what they're doing, we basically lost a year. And I think that's what's really inflicting the most harm here, dollar-wise and everything else. I will ask you, as the director of INS, basically.
Okay.
I have seen that things take a little bit longer, and I imagine the DPW is gonna have to do some engineering and things on this, and I don't know how that's gonna fit into their schedule, so it's been almost ordinary that things take a little bit longer, and I know we have cured some of the issues that we've had there, but that could possibly inflict some more time in it, so I think whichever way you're looking at, we're looking at 2017 for going at it.
I
So,
believe Alderman Murray had that discussion with
Yeah.
Director Kinnear.
Oh,
Yeah. Chris, could you, heard a whole bunch of bad stuff here, please come up and help.
I think we all know our engineering's been a little behind, and so we've hired the people to help, and I think between that and Steve's group, we can keep this on track. I don't know why we can't. I don't see a reason why it would have to close for a year, you know. Is it an aggressive approach? Perhaps, but doesn't mean it can't be done. Even if we lose maybe a half of 2017 or a month of it, we're still gonna be open. I guess I had two questions or comments. You know, we do have the stadium tax money, the $5.5 million that we're getting as a city. I'm gonna propose and suggest that any overages over the $4.5 million, we take from that funds, so that we have to, then we borrow less. That's one of the uses that the state allowed us to do. So any overages over 4.5 million, we take out of that fund. That solves that problem. And secondly, the foundation wants to collect the funds, they just want to make sure we're going to build a pool. So if we can get some kind of resolution or agreement tonight that we're going to build a pool, we're going to collect those funds. And Bernie Dowling, who's our lead donor, is more than willing to donate to pay for the architect engineer. So that's another
Full board of his
300,000.
part of it.
That's 300,000.
Oh,
That he, yeah, so, and we have 100,000 from Ho Chunk, so,
so you have 400,000 for a bill of about
no,
$1
well,
million bucks?
that's where maybe Donnie can help. Not all of that's due up front, correct? It's just the initial plan, so it's really like half of it.
We wouldn't have to hire the consultant to do the construction supervision at this point, which would save some money.
Yeah, that would actually happen during the
Yeah.
project, so.
How much?
200. If it's 600, I would say we need about 4 to 425 to kick it off.
So,
Yeah.
just some
I
options.
could be wrong now, because I don't
No,
have a direct quote on it.
We understand.
But, well, if we figured 540 to 648, I would say that. Would you think that's a fair percentage?
I think so.
Okay.
And in speaking, I also spoke with Raymaker, and they're, I think, maybe a little more conservative on their estimates. They think 10 to 15% more. And we do ask, when we put out the bids, we ask for in-kind contributions or contributions, and I think we did see some of that with Resch, I believe, so that could affect the total. So
Possibly.
There's a
Get some-
variability.
Get some more money up front, hopefully, to cover the inadequacies here, basically.
So, you know, if you have any questions, but just some options. Let's keep this moving along, and hopefully we won't have to lose a whole summer.
Okay. Any further discussion?
Well, I would say if we're just gonna vote to send out the RFP without a commitment to hire, then I would be on board. If we're making a commitment to hire as part of the motion, then I would be against.
I would like to hear from anybody else that wants to talk about it from the audience, if we would.
If I can add one piece, just to what Mr. Moore has mentioned, I think purely from a procedural perspective though, and I'm not trying to get too much into policy here, or procedure of how we do the meetings here, but if we're simply moving to accept RFPs, we still would have to approve the actual expenditure for the engineer. So I'm not trying to tell you how it's gonna go, I'm just saying that.
The request was, though, to
Oh,
get
to
a
commit to it,
commitment
okay, I
from
see
the
what you're
committee to
saying.
build.
I got you,
Right.
okay.
If you would just put out a motion to have us get RFPs, that would have to come back to the park committee for
Right.
approval.
And I'm sorry, that's what I was trying to say, that there's still,
Right, and I'm
obviously,
fine
our
with that
opportunity to
part.
review that, so.
Yeah.
And I'm sorry, I didn't mean to jump ahead
No,
of where we
you're
were.
No
okay.
so.
problem, really.
No problem.
I would like to hear from the floor, and then I'd like to make some closing statements on this kind of thing, if I could.
Make a motion to open
Recognize
the
this
floor.
lady.
Second?
Okay, for opening the floor, we
Hey,
are
aye.
open.
Aye.
I'm Janet Angus. I live at 1403 Shirley Street. And a lot of my property butts up next to Colburn Park. The house I grew up in butts up against Colburn Park. I swam in that park as a child, in the pool. And, you know, it's nice to have that in my neighborhood. And with all the money that is being spent in downtown Green Bay, and all of the meetings that I have gone to regarding the money that is being spent in downtown Green Bay, as a taxpayer and as a homeowner and a property owner in a neighborhood, I would like to know why this committee cannot approve the money to go ahead on a pool in my neighborhood. You wasted thousands, hundreds of thousands of dollars on downtown Green Bay with the Betters Inc. program, which I spoke about at length and did a lot of investigatory Freedom of Information requests regarding the monies that were spent or not spent in Green Bay, Wisconsin. I think these funds should go into my neighborhood. And I think this pool should be built. It's a stabilizing factor in my neighborhood. And my neighborhood is going to change if the city doesn't start spending some money in my area. And I've talked to Mr. Moore about it, Alderman Moore. I've talked to Alderman Nenning. I haven't talked to you, Mr. Danziger. You used to be my alderman, so you know
Miss
how I
Angus.
feel.
We go way back, man.
Yes, we do. And you know how conservative I am. But I think that this pool is a vital factor to my neighborhood. And these people everyone's worked really hard to raise that money. And now as I stand here, I never had the understanding that the money that people were donating might not result in a pool. You've asked people to donate money and collect money, and then that pool may not be built according to the things that the council has approved? Now, I haven't come to a lot of meetings on the pool, and I haven't gone into detail about what happened at the meetings. I've tried to online to look and see what was approved or what wasn't approved. But my understanding, just as a neighbor and going to these meetings at the neighborhood level, has never been that the money that was being collected wouldn't go to the pool. If I was going to give you $500,000 to have my dad's name on that pool, and people have asked me to donate that money, and then you're not going to build a pool, that's ridiculous. That's just misrepresentation. So I think you better figure out what you're doing before you go ahead and ask people for money. If I was going to give you $500,000 and it was just going to go to some engineer to decide if you want to build the pool, I wouldn't give you the money. I wouldn't do it. I pay enough taxes. My tax dollars should pay for that pool. And if my tax dollars are going to pay for these TIF districts that you create, and my tax dollars are going to pay for the Betters Inc. program that went down the drain, then you know what, by God or by gum, you should pay for a pool for the kids in my neighborhood and to stabilize my neighborhood. It's an older neighborhood, and people need that type of stability in neighborhoods. And the other thing is, you brought up, Mr. Moore, you said something that the mayor may do an executive veto of this. I'd like to know if the mayor has asked you or talked to you, discussed with you about doing an executive veto and how that would work. Because, let me back up. If I'm going to donate money and then it's going to be used and it's not going to go towards the pool and the mayor's just going to veto everything, then why would I give any money?
Can I answer?
Sure.
I've never talked to the mayor about it. You could talk to Alderman Weary. I've been against this since the beginning.
You've been against the pool.
Yes, from the very beginning.
Why?
The bonding.
Specifically, what about the bonding?
You should have come to more meetings. This has been discussed many times.
Well, sometimes I can't make all the meetings. I've looked into it, and I will look into it more. But I don't know what's going on with your neighborhood, and you know, you and I have talked about the TIF district. I know you're on the redevelopment authority, about the money that was, I don't think, spent wisely in downtown Green Bay. And I think a problem that we are having in the city is that the money is not being funneled out to our outer districts of the city. And we've had that discussion, and I think we need a pool in our neighborhood.
Okay, any other questions for this lady? Please, I think we have another question for you.
Ms. Angus?
We have another
Oh,
question.
sorry.
Yeah, actually, it was just more of just a clarification. I know Mr. Moore was talking about the bonding issue. I think really the issue isn't so much about, again, the donors giving the money. And again, obviously, I would like to see the pool happen. I think the question really more is about the investment in the borrowing that goes towards it and the overall cost towards the development of this pool. The second thing, too, I think is just a matter of, as Mr. Netting has mentioned, you know, we, the city, have committed $3.5 million to it. Again, I personally, I can only speak for myself. I don't want to speak for anyone else on this panel, but again, I think this is something that we can find some dollars for it. And I think what this debate is about, too, is if we move forward with this, we just have to acknowledge the fact that there might be a disparity between what the council had already committed and what the actual cost might be. And because of that gap, that's where we just simply have to determine and figure out where those funds are coming from. And that's really what
I
this
mean,
comes down to.
are we as a group going to have to go out and raise another $800,000 to cover that gap?
Well,
To get the pool in our neighborhood? I mean, why do I pay property taxes? That's my other question is, you know, if money isn't at some point going to go into my neighborhood for some of these projects that many neighbors feel is a good thing for our neighborhood, then why do I pay all these property taxes?
and again, I don't want to get into a debate over how taxes are applied. I'm just merely trying to outline, I think, what the nature of the discussion is, that's all. So, Mr. Nay, I'm sorry.
If I could just make one comment, I got a little concerned about this thing when I saw what was the discussions in Appleton where they're talking about replacing pools down there, and frankly, the designs looked quite similar to what we were looking at, and they're talking about $10 to $12 million. Now, there may very well be reasons for that, but you know, I think that the council made a commitment. You know, not everybody supported it, but the council made a commitment, you know, in good faith with the Friends of Colburn Pool, and I think we have to at least reaffirm the commitment that the council made. And you know, I agree. If the costs are higher, then we gotta have a hard discussion on that. And I don't know what that'll be. It might be a small amount, might not be anything, or it could be double the cost. I don't know. You know, I just don't know. You know, I think the only way we're going to know is to have we have a preliminary pool design. You know, have an architectural firm work on it. And, you know, obviously there's some cost involved with that, and I don't know how you avoid that, but, you know, we go through this on various projects, you know. Sometimes the costs are higher and we have to scale back projects, and, you know, that, or look at other funding sources. And that may end up being the case here, but, you know, we really don't know unless we proceed, you know, with the assumption that we're going to build a pool based on the commitments that both the city and the Friends of Colburn Pool made.
And if I may, I'd like to address some of your comments also. Just to bring you up to speed, we originally had this set at $1 million more that the Friends were going to have to raise. And they brought that back at that point in time and asked for another $1 million. And we went that route. And now we're at $3.5 million, and they cracked their nut. They got $1 million, and now they're asking for another million. And I'm gonna just play on your knowledge and abilities of business and everything else.
Point of order, Mr. Chairman, if I could.
Yeah,
We actually started at $500,000 is what we said. We said we would raise $500,000. That's what we offered up. That's what we raised for Resch Aquatic Center, and we said we'll do the same thing for this pool.
Yeah.
but we
The
didn't,
committee quadrupled it,
yeah, okay.
and
Yeah.
then council.
Well, regardless of what the
shrunk it to
committee
I know.
did, yeah.
Don't say we shrank by $1 million.
Right,
No.
and don't say that we're asking them for another million, because we're not.
No, I'm just saying, we originally went out of here with that in mind, and then we ended up coming up with
I
more
think it's just the way
dollars.
you painted it
And
was-
regardless of how it happened, but,
Well,
and you came back after another million,
Well,
so,
look,
yeah, we feel like we're.
let's not get into the
handling it wrong.
semantics of it here. I mean, I think,
Pardon me?
no,
It
no,
is a
no.
semantical issue.
Okay.
Reframing.
And as far as your comment goes, why you can't have it in your neighborhood, because it's vital to the neighborhood and the size, and you want, everybody, every neighborhood wants. You hear that all the time, we want this, we want that. In my district, for one thing, I have a district and a neighborhood association that's called Smith Park. They don't even have a park. What do you think they want? What do they think they say about something like this? They're watching us. You say that, why don't we come up with the money, and then you go on to say, well, gee whiz, I could come up with $500,000, why don't you do that? I think we're on our way. I think all the snags, everything else is removed, how nice that would be.
do you know why I
And
won't?
maybe you have the
Do you want to know
power.
why I won't? I'll tell you why I won't. Because first of
You
all,
already
there's,
did, you already told us.
and what was your
Because you don't
understanding?
trust in our judgment, and you don't think you have
No.
to pay anymore, is basically what you're saying.
No, it's not that I don't trust your judgment. I don't trust that it's going to go ahead, number one. So I'd be wasting my money if I decided to give the money to the city. I would be wasting my money because I wouldn't have a name on a building at the end of the day, which is something I would have been promised as far as donating the funds, number one. If I donated to a college, I wouldn't have that problem. I'd have it all set out, I'd make my donation, I'd have the amounts written out in writing, I'd have some type of agreement with the college, with the other entity, knowing exactly what I was gonna do. Here, you've really not, you would not be giving me anything as far as my having a name on a building, or a name on this,
So
or a
you're
name on
looking for
that. Number one.
guarantee, and basically what that comes down to is probably a proper proposal by the fundraisers, which might come in the form of a business plan, and ensuring the fact that you have it. They don't
And
have
the
any money
second
yet,
thing
and
is-
they've been promising people, and they've been collecting money on it.
And the second thing is, I pay a lot of property taxes every year.
So do I.
I bet I pay more
So
than you.
does everybody here.
I bet I pay more than
I
you.
hardly doubt that.
Well, we'll have to meet
That's not
afterwards.
the point. I'm not gonna sit here and.
No, but
Hey,
here's the
everybody,
point.
I think we're
No,
kind of,
I'm done. I'm
Here's the
done.
point.
I'm done.
Here's my point.
No, I'm done,
When
and you're done.
you might be done, I'm not done. I have the floor.
Well, not
Here's
so.
my point. As a taxpayer, which is why I showed up tonight, I didn't show up to talk about giving them money. I was just listening in the back.
You brought it up, I didn't.
Well,
That's right.
I said if I decided to give the money. But here's my point. As a taxpayer in Green Bay, Wisconsin, there are certain things that I think the neighborhood has had the pool for what, 30, 40 years? 50? I grew up at that pool, which is going back to my whole basis. It's not like we never had a park. We have a park. That park's been there since I was a little, it's been there forever. It's one of the nicest parks in the city. And by having that pool there, it stabilizes my area of the city. There's a lot of people that use that pool. There's a lot of people that use that park. And I think my tax dollars should go towards building that park.
Well, I have
think
some
it's-
ideas that
Can
I'll
I
suggest
finish?
later on.
I didn't interrupt you. I think, as a taxpayer, that the money should come from the city of Green Bay for the entire amount of the pool. I don't think neighbors and people should be put into like a position where they have to go out and beg for money for a pool, or for a park, or for a lot of the other things that are done in the city. I think that the funds should be granted to the whole city, not just the downtown area, not just these TIF districts that you have with the bondings and everything else that you do. I'm just here as a little old taxpayer who wants the pool.
Thank you. I'm sure you're not alone. There's a lot of people that spent a lot of efforts and time in collecting this money, so thank you for your dissertation. Anybody else wishing to speak on this item? Yes, please come and give us your name and address, please.
My name is Debbie Jocks, and I live at 1839 South Oneida Street. I'm new to some of this information coming out, and I live in District 8 as well. And I hear a lot of arguing about how much money and the increase and everything. I mean, have you ever just thought about maybe going back to just keeping the pool the way it is? I mean, it would be a lot less money. We could probably get things moving forward a lot faster. I'm hearing conflicting things in my neighborhood that they don't want that big Olympic-sized pool. We don't need it. We just want a regular pool back. That's what it sounds like. From what all she's saying is she wants a pool. Why do we need this oversized pool in this beautiful neighborhood? So I'm just maybe opening that up to say, why do we need this big Olympic-sized pool? Why can't we just go back and fix the one we have or rebuild the one we have? Okay.
Good point. We have questions for you, ma'am?
I was just going to say, staff, the staff want to comment, I think that just for clarification's sake, the dimensions of the pool, while a slight bit larger, the whole design here is meant to mimic the footprint that we have right now in terms of the pool. The reason, too, that we are moving forward with this is because the current condition of the pool, unfortunately, because it is 50 years old. 48 years old. Sorry, I'll give them the 2 years there. Is beyond repair, unfortunately. So we're kind of in this unfortunate pickle of either we redo the pool kind of from the ground up, no pun intended, of course, or continue to have a leaky pool. So
Right.
that's the reason why we're kind of looking at this too.
Okay,
so.
and I spoke with Donnie today regarding that I would be here this evening just to get more information. And she said that we could build a pool for like $2 million.
No, what I said was, depending on what the committee wants to have as a pool. If they want to keep the Olympic-sized pool, we're talking this amount plus whatever. If they decided to go to a smaller pool, then the money would go down. If they would
Right.
decide they didn't want an Olympic pool and they wanted a community-sized pool, then there would be variation in the funding.
Because I'm hearing that neighbors in the neighborhood over there just want their regular sized pool fixed, replaced, or whatever. So I can't imagine that that's going to be $4.6 million.
Sure, there could
I
be.
think it's going to be a lot less expensive.
Sure, Ms. Jackson, it could be just, I guess, maybe the interpretation of what's considered a regular-sized pool. I think maybe there's some interpretation by a number of the neighbors that the Olympic-sized pool is the standard regular-sized pool that they want replaced, and maybe there's another interpretation of that perhaps. But I guess looking at what we have right now, at least how it's been presented to us, we've been always operating under the presumption and kind of the purview of, we would be
The
building
Olympic-sized
Yep,
pool,
the
per
Olympic-sized
se.
pool. So
Was it ever brought up into consideration, just rebuilding that pool the way it is?
it has actually, ma'am, and it's one of those interesting things where, we had looked at a number of options to try and come up with the most modest and humble design, if you will. And it was also kind of offset by the fact, too, that we hope to have at least some revenue generation out of this site as well, which is why some of this was modified to be a little bit different than what the footprint looks like today. Given that, again, 50 meters is 50 meters, so there's only so much you can do with that. You can't turn that into a U or something like that. So that's, again, why the footprint is set up the way that it is. So, but yes, there was talk of a much more scaled back option, and based on the neighborhood feedback that we had received originally, that didn't seem to be something that the group wanted to pursue.
Okay. Well, I just don't think that there was enough information given out to all of our neighbors in our neighborhood. The other thing is that, this is we want to spend $4.6 million on something that has a use of 4 months out of the year. It's a lot of money, and I just think that if we just, give the neighbors, like she was up here saying, give me my pool, just give her regular sized pool. At least take a look at
I
it.
can speak to that too for
Joe?
just a moment, was the regular size pool, once you change anything on that footprint, you gotta come into ADA compliance, you need to have the right bathhouse, zero entry. There are a lot of different amenities that went in, which
Right.
of course raises the cost on it. Which is why you can't really keep the exact same footprint that's there, you can't keep the bathhouse that's there, is that there's a lot of state regulations that we have to fall in line with. In fact, we've been getting a ADA exemption for several years now.
6 years now, something like that.
So my question is this, could we build a smaller pool for about $2 million? If we just change the
Not too
footprint.
many, no. It would depend, it would definitely depend on the size of the pool. I mean, you could build any pool for any
Right.
size, for any amount of money. So, I can't answer that and say, can you not or can you?
Right.
Sure, you can build a pool for 2 million, but what size pool that would be and what kind of amenities that pool would have would be very minimal compared to what you're building there.
Right, so has there been a budget, I mean, has it been looked at, if just replacing the pool the way it is? I mean, has anyone looked at that to say, what would it cost us just to replace this pool, to build a new one, just what we have now, to make everybody happy?
We don't even know what it costs now.
In the last 2 years of discussion, well, actually 4 years, as Ms. Campbell has initiated, we have talked about everything from splash pad to a basic wading pool to a little smaller size pool with 25 yards versus 50 meters to the 50-meter pool. So those discussions have happened throughout those 4 years to get us to this point.
Okay. All right.
Yeah, I think when we hired a consultant just to do preliminary analysis last year, or maybe over a year ago, there were 3 options presented to the committee. And what we ended up with was not the most expensive, and it was not the cheapest. It was somewhere in between.
Sure, I think it's, yeah.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
All right, thanks.
Thank you. Anybody else care to speak? Yes, ma'am.
Hello all, my name's Mary Stutling, I live at 1124 Oregon Street. I don't live in the district where the pool is, but I was on the committee to help raise funds. I just believe that we should go ahead with the RFP. Let's see what the actual cost comes out to be. I mean, a more firm estimate. I think that's really the way to go on this. There's been so much discussion back and forth about size and this and that and the other thing. Let's do it for the Olympic-sized pool that was approved, and we know where we are. And I guess that's all I have to say is that doesn't commit you to that size pool. It's an RFP. It's just proposals. It's not written in stone that we have to go ahead with it. So I'd appreciate your vote to go ahead with that. Thank you so much.
Question, ma'am, for you, please.
Yeah.
Are you a donor?
Yes,
Were you a fundraiser?
yes,
And you agree that you, as well as your donors, you're going to speak for your donors, are willing to spend that money to find out if it's feasible?
I believe so.
Even at the risk of losing it, if it comes out way
Well,
too high?
I'm not saying that we're gonna dump the whole project. I think at some point, we have to see what the cost is estimated at, like Donnie and Dan were saying,
Yeah.
and from there, build on what, we're all keeping our fingers crossed that it'll come in for an Olympic-sized pool. But let's be realistic, costs are only gonna go up.
They are, as we speak. Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I mean. It's like the costs are gonna continue to go up. Nobody's gonna cut back on what their costs are and what their profit is to build this pool for us. So to me, it's just going to keep continuing to escalate in price if we don't jump on it like we are now. I mean, it's like everything. You wanna buy a car now for $35,000, next year it'll be $37,000 or
Exactly.
whatever. And so to
Okay.
me, it just makes sense. We made the commitment through our fundraising, and we're just asking you to proceed.
Okay, with that, you are entirely right. This 15 to 20% is more like 20%. Have been told by Director of Engineering that it's probably more realistic to be more than 20%, so you're right, it just keeps on going up. And again, that's what kind of put us in this position.
Yeah.
But,
And
you
then-
know, I, for one, would be willing to gamble with your money, really, to just go ahead with that. But in the same token, I feel responsibility to the people who have actually donated the money, and I don't know what their positions are. Maybe I'll take a polling of it, and maybe I'll address that a little bit later here. Thank you.
Yeah, I don't have a clear-cut answer for you either,
Yeah,
Jerry, but
yeah.
I'm just saying that I think we should go ahead with the RFP.
Yeah, we're shooting darts at the wall, basically, on that part.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah. Could be, couldn't be. Maybe it
yeah,
goes less.
my family gave 10 grand, and I'd be
Yeah,
willing
okay.
to say, let's
Thank you
go
very
with
much.
it. Let's go with the RFP and see where we're at.
I, for one, were proud of the people that raised the money and thought, let's go. If you got the money, and we put the challenge out
And
there for them.
does that, if I could ask.
I don't want to throw any more after it, though. That's what my
If I
thought
could
was.
ask a question beyond what we're just as an offshoot of this,
Yeah.
can the fundraising continue? Are there any plans for bricks or, Molly Meyer was saying Jackson School, grade school children would like to contribute money for a bench. And so I'm not sure what it would be to have a brick plus some profit in that, built into that cost. But I'm just saying, you know, I think that if people know this is going ahead and there's the advantage of donating towards something that's more concrete than the pool. Let's say, like a brick or a bench or a table or something like that, that might happen.
To answer that question, of course, donations are always accepted from the park department for any project.
Yes, yes.
And it's always ongoing.
have a
We
long
never
list.
turn that off, so yes, as we get further down the road, we can discuss
Yeah.
continuing fundraising options
Okay.
for the pool.
And if I may, I mean, looking at how we pattern things at Bay Beach, for example, I mean, if there is going to be a funding gap, I mean, obviously that'd be something that can help out with alleviating some of that pressure. And then secondarily as well, too, if, again, we find that there are some tweaks that need to be made to the pool that either change the cost or, again, require maybe some in-kind donations that can help offset costs or even avoid costs, anything like that would obviously help out the project as a whole.
Okay, well, thank you very much.
All right, thank you. Alderman, I saw you had your hand up. Randy.
There's a few people.
No, Randy, I was going to tell you that you can speak anytime. You do not have to wait for open
I was just
session.
pointing to him.
Just put up your hand, we'll recognize you.
Okay.
All right.
Ryan Patel, 1149 South Ridge Road. I'm the vice president of the neighborhood association. We're just for the pool. I don't understand why we're talking about changing sizes. I understand money, but this is what we're going at. And I heard rumors of Tundra Lodge building an Olympic-sized pool, so we should change the size of ours. Tundra Lodge is a business. They could build that pool, go out of business the next day. We don't have a pool. So I think we should just go forward with what we're doing. Hopefully it all works out, you know. We just need it, you know.
Okay. We try to run our outfit here too like a business too, but sometimes it's pretty tough. I know what you mean.
Yeah, I work for the county. It's the same thing over there.
Thank you very much.
Thanks.
Yes.
Hello, everyone. Leah Frost, 1665 Patton Street. The city had committed $3.5 million toward the project. We've raised $1 million. We've got a price. Let's move forward, and when we get to the point where if something needs to be addressed on a deficit, let's cross that bridge when we get there. Going backwards right now, 4 years, we've got so much into this, and we've persevered, and I don't see us going backwards or backing down.
Not really going backwards, but dragging our feet.
Somewhat. Do you know what I mean?
Some of you people
We've come
have really been
so
going
far.
forward.
We've come so far. The city has determined where it's at. We've done our part, so we just want to see it move forward. Absolutely.
Okay.
Thank you.
Any questions for this lady?
Just one question. I mean,
Yes,
you
sir.
kind of risk the old bridge to nowhere. I mean, you get $4.5 million worth of work done, but it doesn't include enough to
Well,
use the pool.
You're going to know how much it's going to cost before the work is done. So that bridge would come before it was spent, correct?
But no contractor's going to sign a contract without money being available.
True, but then the city will address it at that time. Correct. I mean,
I know what
agreed.
you're
You know,
saying,
nobody's
sure.
going to commit to anything.
Yep, I know what you're saying.
That's when the decisions will be made. But tonight,
Sure.
we're at where we're at.
And if I
Right.
may, oh, sorry.
Yeah, I don't think anybody's trying to be combative with the pool. They were asking a lot of questions here to make sure that we got it right. I mean, like I said, I haven't supported this. I haven't supported the bonding. I haven't supported. I haven't gotten in the way of the fundraising. I've supported the fundraising all the way through. If you guys can raise $3 million, that'd be great. But you know, the whole thing for me has just been the bonding. When you talk about the annual payments on a $3.5 million bond, which you know at first was $4.5 million. That was an awful lot of money. So I mean, that's always been where the argument has been. And now at the point where we're going to start spending some money, I think soon as we accept donations, soon as we agree that yes, we're going, you know, to accept this money and hire the engineer, then that puts us in a position where, like you said, there's no going back. That's the commitment. So we're asking the four of us right now to make the commitment. I mean, like
To follow
right
through,
now
to
to
follow
get this
through.
pool done. Right.
Yes.
Right, and that's just where I'm at right now, is still not willing to make that commitment. So I'm speaking personally, not for the committee, but this is, my reasoning behind it.
Yeah, and all I wanted to add, Ms. Frost, is, again, I think the reason that we're asking the questions about that gap and that potential deficit is because we know it's going to be, I mean, we're all pretty certain that there is going to be a deficit. We're just
Correct.
simply asking the questions now in the general sort of sense as to, all right, how would we, find that funding? Where would those sources be? I know Mr. Worry has mentioned a
And there
couple
are
spots already,
options.
potentially. So that's, again, we're not trying to be negative about it. We're just acknowledging the reality of the situation, that's all.
Correct.
All right, anybody else? Okay, thank you very much for coming.
Thank you.
Okay.
Jump in line. Once again, with the donors, you have to be careful, because if this project were to be tanked for some reason, you're not going to get anyone to pledge any dollars anymore in the future. We worked very hard, a lot of us, for 4 years, not 4 years, 1 year fundraising, to get people to donate to a concept, to an idea, something for Green Bay, and we all know what that is. And it's unfortunate Mrs. Jakes is rather uninformed in District 8, because we've been talking about this since Alderman Burnett for 2 years, myself for 2 years. I know I've had it in all my newsletters. We've had neighborhood meetings at Colburn. We've heard the Colburn Neighborhood Association. They've endorsed it. They've actually given $1,000. So the neighborhood, District 8, is in favor of this. Now, if Ms. Jakes, who just happens to be running for alderperson, I think, in District 8, wants to take the opposing side, that's fine, but she's rather misinformed.
I'm not opposing, I was just asking questions.
No discussion, please. Anybody else want to speak on the open floor?
Oh, wait, Mr. Stoyer, go.
He had to leave.
Is he done? Okay.
All right.
He expressed he's fine with moving forward with an RFP, but you can ask him next week.
All right, thank you. No further requests or questions or anything?
All right.
You have a motion? Close the floor?
Move return to regular order.
Okay, second.
Okay.
I said that kind of as a question, but all right.
Floor is now closed. Any further discussion from the committee? If not, I'd like to summarize some things.
Go ahead, Chair.
Okay, at this time, everybody's dropped a pretty good bomb. I've been really fighting and struggling with this whole thing, this whole decision. The facts are, we don't have the dollars right now. We're looking all over to get the dollars. And again, admiring what you people have done. We still need the dollars to make this work. I agree with Alderman Moore. I'm pretty well set on how much we've given already for this thing, and of course, there's a possibility you could probably get more money. But I'm not willing to actually approve any more money coming from anywhere else other than what we've actually offered up already as this committee. We don't have the dollars. We also have possibility, and I know this has been poo-pooed by certain people, but it's a fact, that Olympic-sized pools are going in Ashwaubenon. They're updating theirs. Tundra Lodge has theirs. They have talked to two of our committee, or one of our committee members and another alderman, two of our aldermen, to offer up using that pool, which is an indoor facility.
Correct.
And De Pere and St. Norbert's are actually in the process of completing the planning for the Olympic pool themselves and offering that up as a possibility of using it. Along with that, the mayor has not had any opportunity, or has not taken the opportunity to offer up his ideas or thoughts on this. He was not able to make this meeting tonight. I wish he could have made the meeting. Because of that, no dollars. The need possibly is hazy now. When you first came, I asked what the need was and use and everything, and possibly we have some other entities do this. I did have this discussion with Weary once before, and it came up tonight. I would love to see a thing scaled down. Maybe we don't need the Olympic pool. And again, we're just kind of guesstimating, conjuring up ideas of does it cost this much, that much, whatever. Possibly somehow there'd be a shortcut to looking into that. I even, at one point in time, I offered up some semi-ridiculous to Alderman Weary and said, let's have the biggest splash pad you ever saw in the city. But I know the people over there, most of the people want a pool. They're used to having a pool, and I acknowledge that. I've lived on water all my life, and I know what it feels like to have that available. And I cannot deny that feeling of being able to swim and have everything convenient. The only other thing I have a question on the need and the use is the pools that I mentioned are going to be enclosed pools. This pool is going to be an Olympic outdoor pool that I'm going to guesstimate, because I had a pool at one time. We opened that thing up, if we were lucky, on the 4th of July, and come along when my dad's birthday was in September, it was closed. You're very limited. Somebody mentioned tonight, do you have a 4-month use? No, you don't, not in the city of Green Bay. Unless you have a heated pool and an indoor pool, that would be a tremendous asset to these people so they can actually practice all year round.
Just
And
one
I
word,
agree with that.
Alderman, was this just,
Yeah.
actually, we are opening up, I think, in early May now, is the goal. Try and open up in early May and go
We
through
normally,
late August, so.
we normally have a 10-week season.
Yeah.
That's the season that we budget for the pool. We have talked about opening it up 2 weeks early for swim team usage.
Okay. Well, they do grease up? Okay. And because of these items, I'm going to ask this committee to, and I know that we've taken quite a while to get here. I know it's taken time to get where we're at, but because of the lack of dollars, the questionable use, the time use, the other entities that are available, I'm not going to scuttle this, but I'd say the main thing that's really on my mind right now is we have a leader of our city who we all have elected, who is dead set against this project. And we have not had a chance to hear from that person. And because of that, I would wish the committee to please take these things into consideration. And I would like to receive this and place on file. And I think the real process of doing this thing is, this should really go out for bonding. It's going to go out for bonding in March or April anyway. And again, that's in the hands of the person who doesn't want it the most. And I think that we should at least hear him. I don't think you're going to get this thing open in 17. I think you're going to be open hopefully in 18 if you move ahead, which would really be swell. But I still think we have to cover some bases that we haven't covered. And I feel frustrated by it, I really do, because it's just a thing that I think it's something that we have to do. As a matter of fact, as far as polling the donors, it has been offered by your leader and your elected leader to actually approach all the donors and get their input on what his input is, what their input is. He's actually saying that he don't think that the people really want it, and I'm hearing that they do want it, and I'm hearing that there's neighbors here that do want it, and I'm hearing that neighbors are over there that don't want it. And if that's the case, we have always been neighborhood sensitive. Consequently, we have neighborhood associations that we really honor their position and everything, and we definitely go with what they say. And do I know that? I didn't go knock on those doors, but he's prepared to have those people basically come forward basically and back him up. And as the leader of the city, I think he's probably got that backing. And so I guess that's what I'm asking. I know we might lose a little bit of time here, but in the same token, I think we should do it right. And yes, taxpayers pay taxes. I pay taxes. The lady over there pays taxes. And we just have to take the right approach to this from a business standpoint and spend our money accordingly and not keep dipping into the well to make something work. That, number one, I guess the number one thing is it might be an objection. And so that's what I'm asking this committee. So if you have further discussion on that, I'd like to discuss that. Joe.
Well, rather than receive and place on file, and like I said earlier, I was sending out an RFP to get quotes on the design. Just on the design work, doesn't cost us anything.
Okay.
So I think that if we at least went forward with the request of the RFP, like I said, I'm not really willing to make a commitment that we will hire the lowest bid. But if we go out to get the RFP, we see what their quotes all entail. We, choose a design that, or not necessarily design, but we choose an architect that's doing what we want them to do, or, what we feel works with input from the friends. Then it's going to be another discussion, probably quite like this, about how we spend the money then to hire that person that we decided we want to go with. But I think tonight we don't have to receive this and place it on file. I think tonight we can send out the RFP.
Okay, where do you think the money should have come from? What's that?
That's a
gonna cost?
discussion for another
Well-
night.
Who, well, let me ask.
But the
how
RFP
do
doesn't
you pay
cost
for the
anything
RFP?
for us to send it out and ask for quotes.
The park department has no money available to pay for an RFP right now. If any money that we would have towards the pool would be in that bonding process. That was where the city money would come from. Although Alderman Weary's request was that the Friends of Coburn were willing to use their funds immediately to start this process.
Okay. So that would help.
We would send out the RFP now, and then in January, we would come back with the proposals, and at that time, we would figure out how it's paid for.
Right, I think in the,
Okay. Joe, are you done? Joe has the floor?
No, that's fine.
Okay.
That's-
David?
thank
I
you.
think in the interim, there can be discussions with finance about, what options there may be. Sometimes engineering costs for projects are advanced from other funds, that the city may have available. I can't speak for finance, but, I think those discussions can be had. I think that when the council took the action that they did, and it wasn't unanimous, and, I don't expect any more votes to be unanimous here. But when that occurred, the city did say that you raise $1 million, we will give 3.5. Now, if that changes, then it's up for discussion, but we won't really know. I like to act on facts that we know. We won't really know until we bid out the engineering, we figure out how we're going to fund that, and then we see what the total project's going to cost. I suspect that there will have to be some serious discussions between both the city and the Friends of Coburn Pool when it reaches that point. And, but I don't think we can address that tonight. And frankly, this whole subject, I suspect, will be discussed at council next week. So, our role as a committee is to get a recommendation to the council, whether it's something that everybody here agrees on or not. And, I would follow Mr. Moore's suggestion that we direct staff to proceed with the RFP for the engineering work and to bring it back to the committee, along with input from our finance people when it's appropriate.
Okay.
And paid for with salary.
Right.
Sure.
As part of the motion.
Yes.
Brian, are you done?
So
I'll
that-
second for discussion.
That's my
Okay.
motion.
Brian?
No, I think that's fine. Like I said earlier in my comments, there's no risk in going for the RFP. That still allows us to stay on the timeline that Ms. Kramer has already presented us. It would kind of align too with the bonding process that Mr. Moore has some specific concerns about. But by doing just the RFP at least, we're moving this forward. We're looking at funding sources, and if, again, the Friends of Coburn Park Pool would be willing to apply those funds towards this, I see it as being a very legitimate use of those dollars.
Okay. Question for staff, RFP, what's the timing process on that, and what do we have to do on that? What do we do to go that direction?
Again, fast track one, but we would like to send out an RFP by December, mid-December. We have to really hurry here to get an RFP out in the next couple weeks.
Okay.
January 8th, or beyond that, if we get it a week later, it would
Okay.
be somewhere mid-January.
Mm-hmm.
We would bring it to a park committee in either mid-January or late January, and city council approval hopefully right after that.
Okay. And how does that affect the time schedule that we have actually decided, or not decided on, but discussed here tonight? Are we still kind of in the same time frame for getting this thing up and running?
Yeah.
Okay. I would be for that. I think we've kind of found a comparable solution. However, I would like to add something to that. I want to make sure that we hear from the mayor, and I want him to appear at this committee, because I don't really like to be in the spot speaking for him, and I think that he should appear before this committee. and voice his opinions, and I think he should be heard.
Okay.
So if you're comfortable with that,
Well, I think he naturally has the opportunity to do so at the council level as well,
Yeah.
if that's an issue.
yours truly does not like to do work at city.
No, I know. Sorry, you're right. Sorry for even suggesting that.
Yeah. So, we're supposed to do the work in committee and
Right,
come
right.
there with a decision.
You think I'd figure that out after 6 years?
Well, yeah, we're gonna miss you, brother, no. But if we can do that, I really want to get him in line to do that. I don't want to speak for him, so. Okay, so,
Could you repeat the motion, please?
so you want me to repeat that motion?
Well, my motion was to direct staff to send out an RFP for the necessary engineering services for the project. And as, you know, as planned, and bring that back to the committee along with recommendations from our finance director as soon as possible.
Okay.
Paid
And,
for with?
Yeah, probably with the expectation of utilizing fundraising dollars.
Right. Well, I guess I don't want to, until I know what it is, I don't want to say, I want to put that specifically in because, you know, like you said, it
Mhm.
might be more.
Yes.
But I can't put out an RFP if I don't have it.
What's the cost of the RFP?
Don't know.
There is no cost to send out the
Okay, we could do the
RFP.
RFP, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's
Yeah,
just.
we're not
Yeah,
paying for the
yeah,
engineering.
Okay, I get what you're not asking
Just
for
to send the RFP
engineering.
and get the quotes on the
Got it.
engineering,
Correct.
Who's
not
doing
to
it?
approve the engineering. so.
Engineering?
No, we
No,
don't.
We would,
Oh, do you work with DPW with that?
they help
Not-
us if we have
If
questions.
needed. In this case, we would just send it out without
Sending it out.
their assistance.
No time lags or problems with the engineering part?
Just getting quotes back, I think.
I'm kind of gun shy from what we've gone through.
I know with
so-
engineering, I understand.
yeah, so.
Thank you.
Okay, the only other part of discussion that I would like to offer up is, I'm gonna put the oldest back on the Friends and Alderman Weary. One thing I guess I would look for you is I'm looking for some type of input from the people who have donated money. If they're happy with this and if they're happy of floating the engineering and design and everything out of their funds, with the possibility that it might not go. And I think we'll know more about that as we go and we hear from the mayor, basically, so. I would really ask for that, because, boy, this is just an ulcer maker, is what it really is, the way it sits right now.
Well,
Could we
I think
arrange
it's pretty
something?
much understood that there'll be a pool. Sounds like the discussion might be what type of pool. Because the commitment's already been made by the city that there will be a pool. Raise $1 million, we put 3.5 million towards
Exactly,
it.
and let's look at that, too, I like
Right.
that, yeah, I'm sorry, I forgot to bring it up.
Okay,
yeah.
so it's really not whether there's a pool or not, it's what it will look like.
Yeah.
Those are two different discussions entirely.
Yeah, by all means, let's come up with something less expensive and we can make it more palatable.
Well, we have a
Once
we
plan
get the
that we
engineering
approved,
Yeah.
and I know no one on the Parks Committee voted for it,
Yeah.
but 7 of the other 8 aldermen did.
Yeah.
And I know we're very pleased with how much fundraising did, and I've
Oh,
heard
yeah.
from a couple of you that you'll support it now, so.
Yeah, sincerely we are, we'd like to, some of us like to see it go. And
We
I
have to
think you work very
remember
hard towards
two
that.
things. This falls apart, you'll never get, you're gonna have a tough time fundraising for projects, and I will speak against it. Do not donate to the city, because they will not follow through.
Okay.
That's very dangerous.
Mhm.
And the second thing is, some of the donors, some of the bigger donors want to donate their money this year, in 2015, year behind. And then next year, and then the following year.
Okay.
They don't want to wait till next month. They want to donate this year, because they, with their taxes and everything, they want to get it out this year. So I will be asking for some assurances next week at council that a pool is moving forward. Now, obviously, we want the Olympic-sized pool, but as long as it's understood there will be a pool. That discussion will happen next week. Be glad to hear from the mayor. He came to 1 or 2 of our neighborhood meetings in Colburn,
Mhm.
gave his opinion, never spoke up, really ever. So, he's not the king. We're 2 branches, the mayor and us.
Exactly. Well, no, we're not.
There's a lot of times we've decided
We're
things
we're
that he
one
didn't like,
entity,
so.
supposedly, we're city council and mayor, we're one, we report to the
We're
public.
not much of a team anymore.
Well, yeah,
We should be.
yeah, we should be, exactly,
All right. But I look forward to his comments.
yeah, okay.
Well, we have a motion. and
We have a
second,
motion, and
right?
a second, and we got a clear staff to,
Get it cleared in?
you want to repeat it?
Excuse me. Direct staff to proceed with sending out engineering RFP and bring back to committee for review and approval, and discuss potential funding options with the finance director prior to that meeting.
Yeah, that's good.
Okay, good. All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? That passes. Thank you very much. And thank you, everybody, for coming. Appreciate it.
Still D.
D.
Oh, D. Accept naming rights and donations for pools and amenities. Let me just kind of share this and see if we're in agreement on that particular one. I think I can make it fairly easy. Let's not put the cart before the horse. Let's get this thing rolling before we make those decisions, if that's okay with you. Otherwise, you want to talk about it, we can talk about it.
Well, if I may, Chair.
We are running over on another
No,
meeting
no,
that's
but-
supposed to start. so-
Chair, if I may on that.
Yeah.
I think because we're kind of making the presumption that we would use some of these donations to potentially pay for the engineer, would we need to accept the naming, I think the best way of phrasing it, accept the naming rights as a way to help with the potential funding for any of the pool costs? Because I know part of the funding is, it's supposed to be designed to specifically go towards naming, but I think the spirit of this, and I guess I don't want to speak on behalf of Mr. Uri, I apologize, but I think by accepting that, though, it allows us, or at least gives us a vehicle or mechanism to do the funding for the engineering should we get to that point. So I'm a little worried if we just didn't do anything about that, that's all. Mr. Uri, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to speak on your behalf.
You
but-
summed it up perfectly.
No.
Sounds good to me.
So I think, do we want to put the caveat that, again, accepting naming rights donation for the pools and amenities, and I'm trying to think of saying in a way that could be used for general funding of the pool, and I don't want to, I know that's not quite how the policy is written, so I'm trying to think of a smart way of applying this
Does this come back?
that still gives some level of flexibility. Mr.
You know,
Nettie?
the only comment I'd have on that is that in the action that the council took, it specified specific amounts to name the pool.
Yes.
And a term, it specified an amount for the community room, an amount for the seasonal shelter, an amount for the concession area. And, you know, I don't think we've really gotten a report as far as how the actual donations
I can bring that to you
fall
right
in
now
that
if you'd like.
respect.
With the shelter, John and Winky Ming for the open shelter for $50,000. The sand play area was Daniel Smith for $50,000. Bellin was the burn for $50,000. The Ho-Chunk Nation was $100,000 for the community room. And Bernie Dolan was $300,000, and the Lindahl family was $250,000 for naming rights. Did I miss any, Chris?
Sounds right.
Okay.
So we got $550 for the name of the pool, and the original goal was $750, right?
Correct.
If I may, Mr. Nettie, I think when we were putting forward the guidelines in this, that we understood the fact that there was some flexibility.
We amended.
Right.
Yeah, we amended it.
Yeah,
and
that
we-
came
we-
forward, and it was all amended, so.
Yeah.
What are the terms of the naming rights? Do we have that specified?
It was 20 years, I think.
I believe it was 20 years, correct, Mr. Wary?
I think we amended it to 30 at city council. You can check the minutes.
I know it was more than a week. So.
On
Yeah,
all of them?
I'm sure.
Yeah.
You guys are
Okay.
going to miss me.
So where do you want to go with this?
I think we should go ahead and accept it if you want to use it for part of the fundraising dollars. Just make it contingent upon signage and placement of signage and contingent upon staff approval with the parties when they meet.
Motion with those
I would
stipulations.
like
Okay.
to add to that, if I could, anything that's, and I don't know what's normal anymore. I guess there's hardly any normal anymore. But anything that's kind of abnormal to what the park staff has seen or whatever, definitely should come back to this committee for discussion.
Accept amendment.
Yeah.
All right. A second? Did you second that?
Sure.
Okay.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, that takes care of that.
Who seconded it?
I'll second that.
Discussion and action on 216 Community Development Block Grant Park Proposal.
Okay, on October 1st, 2014, the Park Committee approved our 2015 CD funding. Included in that list was the Perkins Park tennis court replacement. In February of 2015, the planning department requested that we reallocate those funds, which we brought back to you. We did. We reallocated for other projects, so we would not lose those dollars. And what we decided to do then is put Perkins Park tennis courts back on for the seeded funds
Okay.
for this year. We'll probably be allocated about $150,000, and feeling that they were there and then we had to remove them because we couldn't get the project done in time, and we wanted to bring them back to that list for the top. Now, you
Okay.
can discuss other options if you wish to, but that would be our recommendation.
Go ahead.
Yes.
I'm good with that recommendation. I was just gonna ask, I had a impromptu meeting with Jane Hansen today, and she was just wondering how far down the list they are for the shelter at Red Smith.
I don't have that available with me right now. I'd have
Could you,
to, I can
would you
call
be able
her.
to email that list over
Sure.
to the
Absolutely.
committee? I'm just kinda curious where we're at with that.
Did you want to hold this up then, or you want to?
No, I think we're perfectly fine accepting this. Let's get this
Okay,
money
do I have a motion?
accepted and spent. So I'll move to accept that.
Do I have a second motion?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, that passes. Report of the purchasing manager. I hope you're here for next meeting.
Okay, good. I don't feel so
It always
bad.
makes me feel bad.
I feel so bad.
Maybe Alderman Danziger will take you first, who knows?
I'll take the first.
Okay, we have two items before you tonight. The first is to request approval to award the purchase of picnic table frames from R.J. Thomas Manufacturing Company for $22,056. Here's a visual of what we're buying.
Okay.
The
So if you could park
Park
the tow truck on it.
This
Superintendent
is pretty tough.
wanted to purchase the frames and then purchase the recycled material tops and seats
Great.
to apply to these. So we went up for bid, and we asked for two options. They had purchased a frame, or at least had a sample made for them from a local company, a completely assembled frame similar to what you see in the picture. So we asked for quotes on that, assembled and delivered. The other option was for the manufacturer to do the bending and welding, etc., and send them to us disassembled with park staff basically bolting the units together. It was costing about a little over $500 for a fully assembled frame, as you see in the picture. That would have been the low bid, $510. The low bid that met our specifications came in for a disassembled frame at $183.80. We had a sample sent to the park shop. They assembled it. It met all of our specifications, and the park superintendent believes that the city can save a lot of money by buying it that way and then doing the assembly with park staff.
So going the IKEA route. Got it. All right.
Actually, the cost of that table, if we purchased it, would be $600. And that doesn't include the shipping. For us, we can probably put this table together for about $285. And that is with the park people putting the tables together.
What do you do with the extra money?
We bought extra frames. I
Yes,
know
we
that
did.
was one of the recommendations from staff.
Yes,
I
we
couldn't
bought
do that.
120. That's okay. We can do it.
Do I have a motion? Move to approve.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Oh, great. Number two, request approval of award purchase of park shelter doors for LaForce Incorporated for $12,794. LaForce is a good company.
Recommendation is to award to the low bid. LaForce?
Do we have a second?
Does this include installation?
No, park staff is installing the doors.
Okay.
This is our standard door that we use for all of our shelters, whether it's fiberglass, it's reinforced polyester, ADA accessible, and it holds up really well for us, so it's our standard door.
Do we have a second?
Who made the motion?
I made a motion to approve.
Oh, second.
Oh, okay.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, that passes. Number four, director's report.
Okay.
Time is up.
All right. We are an Astor shelter. The architect has finalized the building concept and the site plan. Work has begun on the final bid documents. Final concept has been reviewed with the Astor East River Neighborhood Association, and we're going to move forward. Regarding the Atkinson wall, the contractor did not get the wall in this year. And the staff will work with the purchasing department to decide if this project will need to be requoted, or we can still carry that quote over to spring construction. We're trying to reach the contractor. We've had some trouble with that. So we're going to work with purchasing and see how we can move forward with that.
Good. Sooner the better, it's been hanging around too long.
The Bay Beach Western parking lot is now completed. We're working on some landscape plans.
Okay?
As you all know, Baird Park walkway, the replacement is done, and we updated with new brighter LED lights and
Okay.
curb ramps. The new bike racks along the Fox River Trail are installed. Excuse me, I'm talking too fast.
Quit choking and start talking faster, please.
Okay, we're okay.
The Tank Park splash pad is completed and will be open to the public next summer. Hopefully, if all goes well, we will release the Snowy Owl on December 15th at 11:30 a.m.
Cool.
Interesting.
Wonder if that was mine.
This is Reggie. He was the guy that was,
In the smokestack?
yeah.
When he was by my house, I called him Wade. How come he changed his name?
Yeah, we're really hoping that if everything goes well, we're going to release him on December 15th
Cool.
at Bay Beach. And he's quite the celebrity, as you know. With all the press that's coming to that. In fact, oh no, it doesn't. Lastly, I want to wish you all a happy holiday.
All right.
Enjoy yourself, please.
Thank you. See you at the
To you and
party.
your families.
See you at the party. Everybody come to the party.
All right,
Can I
Missy,
ask one question?
go ahead. Oh,
Just the Falling Star ride, with the other two rides out there and set up, is there a time frame to begin construction on the Falling Star? Will that be available by the end of next summer?
We have already started working on the Falling Star. We actually have this summer. We're hoping to,
We're hoping to open it up sometime, probably midsummer would be my guess, but I don't have a definite bid date. We're restoring the ride right now, and we're going to continue to do that over the winter, and Public Works will be working on the plans and specifications. So,
And the other two will be ready for opening day?
yep, those will be ready for opening day. They're almost done.
Cool.
All right, move, receive, and place and file. Director support.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, do we have a motion to adjourn? Do
Motion to adjourn?
we have a second? Second. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? That motion carries. Well done, everybody. Chip chop.
God, you guys, you all choked up there.
No. All right, who's here for what?